You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney theme parks podcast, and this is show number 393 for Sunday, the 23rd of January, 2022.
Where dreams begin.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. No Jane this week, however, we have an amazing show just for you. This week I have got another amazing trip report, and I have always sat back and admired this family's trips to Orlando. This time, however, I coaxed the mum, Vicky, to come on the podcast and share everything about it. So welcome to the Disney Dream Girls.
Thanks, Michelle. It's lovely to be on.
Let's find out more about you and more about your trip. So firstly, how did you get into this addiction of going to Disney for holidays, buying into DVC, and then husbands with you, children? Share a little, please.
Absolutely. Well, we never went, my husband and I never went to Disney as children. The first time we actually went to Disney was on our honeymoon, which was just over 20 years ago now in 2001. So we strangely enough, we were considering going to Kenya, of all places. I know.
Very similar.
Oh, totally, yeah. And then we decided that was far too complicated, and Anthony's not very good with having injections, and I think you need to have several of those to go to Kenya at the time anyway. So we thought about going to Disney. So we went there for our honeymoon. I say it was 2001, and our first day in the Magic Kingdom happened to be on 9/11, which was an interesting experience. But that was our first time we ever went over. And since then, we've been pretty much every year taking the children with us. Ben, who's now 14, and Ava, who turns 11 on Thursday. And we joined DVC, I think, 2017. Basically, just go as often as we can, really.
Do you have a favourite resort that you utilise your DVC points for?
I do, yeah. I mean, it is our home. Well, our first home. We've got several now, but Old Key West will always have a very, very special place in my heart. I mean, it's not the fanciest, it's not the swishest, it hasn't got the best of everything, but for me, it just feels like home, and that's exactly what it should be when you're at DVC. And it happens to be very reasonable on the points charts as well, so it does make that quite handy too.
It is quite useful if you get one of their, say, one bedrooms. You have the washer, dryer, all in your room. You have a full-fitted kitchen, a lounge, a bedroom. Then the one I stayed in had a spa bath. It was amazing.
Well, we've never actually stayed in a one-bedroom at Old Key West yet. No, we've only ever stayed in studios because we are incredibly frugal when it comes to point usage, because we like to go so often and for such a long time. We tend to stay in studios, but for the summer trip that we've got coming up, because we have so many points available because of not being able to go for the last couple of years, we have actually got our very first one bedroom at Old Key West, so we're very excited for that.
Well, we'll talk about that trip a bit later on. Let's
Sure.
rewind to December 2021. Give us a little bit of an outline on your trip. Who, when, where? Over to you.
Well, we went on the 17th of December, which was the day after we broke up from school. It was the four of us that went, so myself, Anthony, Ben and Ava. We spent most of the time at Old Key West, but we were very, very lucky to get 2 nights right at the end of the holiday on the 30th and the 31st of December at Animal Kingdom Lodge in a one-bed club level room, which was amazing.
Wow. And I must admit, you were posting pictures on the podcast family page, and my friend Caroline was like salivating at the thought. But we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that element, because it is quite a unique thing that you can do. And for people that might not want to spend the time in the theme parks, but actually want to be more resort bound and have loads of free food, that might be for them.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have stayed at club level before, in fact, on our 2019 Christmas trip, but it was only one night. And we decided that one night although it was superb, don't get me wrong, we did fancy a little bit longer on them. Those 2 nights were perfect. We were quite worried because we wondered what the situation would be after COVID and such like, because before it was very much buffet style. But there was no need to worry at all. Everything was pretty much the same as it was. And you're greeted constantly every time you go in the lounge with a cast member asking you if you want a jungle juice mimosa, which is always a great time, a great way to start the day.
Absolutely. I'd just be like using that door as a revolving door, going in and out to see if I get one every time.
Well, yeah, I mean, what was really handy for us as well is we were actually put in exactly the same room as we were 2 years ago, which was quite strange. But it happened to be a handicapped accessible. We don't require a handicapped accessible room, but that just happened to be the room that we got. And because of that, it was right next to the lounge. So we literally had to open our bedroom door and we were maybe 10 yards away from the lounge, which was just ideal.
Oh, man. And, okay, you've tantalised me. What are the benefits of being able to have access to this?
Well, I mean, the only downside, I say the downside first, because there really is only one. And the only downside is you have no choice in any sort of view of room whatsoever. It's basically you get what you get. Mm-hmm. And there is a partial savannah, there's a pool, and there's a dreaded car park view as well. And we got, again, a partial savannah because it's the same room as last time, which was beautiful. It was lovely to sit on the balcony and, watch the animals go by. The best thing about it is the cast members that are there and the offerings. I mean, you have a couple of hours of breakfast in the morning where you've got your usual pastries, cereals, toast and all that sort of thing. But they do have a couple of African-inspired egg dishes and some little sort of continental style things that have got a more African theme to them as well, which is wonderful. During the main part of the day, I think it's between 11 and 4, they have little snacks out. Now, it used to be that they would have breads and hummus and crisps and sweets and things like that out. But with COVID, they don't like to leave that out all the time. So there's a lot of pre-packaged items there, but there's plenty, and if there's ever anything in addition that you want, you can just ask a cast member and they'll bring it. And then between 5 and 7, they have 5 and 7, I think, if I remember rightly, something like that. They have, it's not an evening meal, but we made it into an evening meal, to be honest. And you've got your breads and your dips and all things like that. But they also have a chef up there that comes up from Boma. And they do a couple of little dishes. And when I say little, they are, little dishes. And they one day they had like a rice and butter chicken, which was to die for. Oh. And they had a little beef and couscous thing one day. Now, I'm not a beef fan, but I did quite enjoy that. They had a shrimp thing one day, and I'm allergic to shellfish, so I couldn't have that. But there was a little soup, which was really good. And then right at the end of the night, they have desserts and cordials. And it took me a while to realise that, cordials to Americans is not, blackcurrant squash like we would have. It's your liqueurs and all that sort of thing. And they have the little desserts out as well. So it's just, but if it happens to be between one of those times, if you ask a cast member, they will literally bring you whatever it is that you want as well. And and there's also Mickey bars in plentiful supply whenever you would like them. So it's all good.
Well, with the price of Mickey bars in the price parks now raising to $6, you could quite easily get the value back by having a Mickey bar on the hour.
Well, I mean, we kind of did that because when they were in the freezer, we would take a couple back to our room, put them in the freezer in the room that we had, and then we could just have one sort of whenever we wanted. And also the drinks that were there, it was cans of drink as well. It wasn't like a machine or anything like that, although they did have a coffee machine which required some sort of degree to be able to use it. I'm sure you would love it. But no, it was all really good quality stuff that you could actually, they're quite happy for you to take back to your room. They would also, especially at breakfast, they would give you little to-go boxes as well. So if you wanted to make a little sandwich up or something for your dinner, you could.
Wow. Okay, it's now going on to the top of my list. one night stroke 2 nights, I've got to have that access, because if I'm going to have a couple of days at the end of the trip where I'm just doing nothing and just sort of trogging round the pool and relaxing, maybe just going to the theme park between 11 and 3, that sounds ideal, because I can have the food from the restaurants at Animal Kingdom Lodge, but not have to pay. I love that.
This is the thing. And also, what's really good about it is that officially you can check in from midnight, and you don't get signed out until midnight of your checkout day. So we were staying at Old Key West on the day that we checked in. So we left Old Key West at about 7 o'clock in the morning, went over there, got checked in. The room wasn't ready yet, and went and had breakfast. So you actually get quite a lot of usage out of it if you play it correctly.
Is there a comfy sofa I could go in there from like 12:05 and have a nap?
Well, yes, because we did that. We actually did that on our checkout day. There's a lovely little corner area with sofas, and it's delightful to spend a few hours down there.
So that's one night less accommodation I need to pay for.
There you go.
Sorted. Okay, so we've got an amazing end to the trip with the deluxe end of the hotel. Not saying that Old Key West is shabby, but comparison, the two, yeah. What pre-trip planning did you do? Because I'm always of the mantra, 180 days, restaurants, 60 days out, do this. And, you have so much pre-planning to do on a Disney trip. But everything since COVID, since Lightning Lane, since Genie Plus has all changed. So what did you do in advance?
Well, to be honest, very little, because we were of the opinion right up until the last minute that this might not happen. So we didn't want to plan too much for that just in case factor. I mean, the borders only opened 3 or 4 weeks before we actually left. So we weren't actually convinced it was even going to happen. So aside from booking the flights and such like, there wasn't a great deal of pre-planning we did. And also we don't tend to go to many of the restaurants either. So we didn't do any of that. There was no fast passes to book this time, of course, either. So we couldn't even do that. The only thing that we really had to pre-plan was our park reservation days. And that was fairly straightforward, really. We were wondering whether we could switch any of them while we were there in case there was somewhere we wanted to go extra or whatever. But we actually figured out we couldn't do that because all the reservations were pretty much full when we got there. But it wasn't really an issue. But the major pre-planning we really had to do was all the COVID testing.
Just for the benefit of my sanity and the fact that COVID regimes change, I think we'll leave that one for the moment. We're in Walt Disney World, and you've already said you're not a restaurant-y type eating type of family. You want to be eating more on the go, more flexible. Let's talk about your favourite snacks of the trip.
Well, I mean, while we were there, it was the Festival of the Holidays. And when we went 2 years ago, that was a huge thing for us. So we were hoping that it was going to be quite similar this time. And it absolutely was. And the portions that you get there are very much snack sized, sort of $6-7 generally. So what we would do is we would go around to the majority of the booths, see what we fancied, have one, and then share it between us. And then if there was anything that we particularly liked, we would often go back and have that later. Like Ben, for example, there was, I think it was in France, it was a roulade cake sort of a thing. And for one person, it was quite a decent snack. For 4, not so much. But he loved that. And Ava, bless her, she's very easily pleased, and she absolutely loves the potato latkes that they do at Lime. So she was a big fan of those. And she also liked a beef dish that there was in France, which was wonderful. But I think, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I think my favourite that we had at the festival was in the America Pavilion, and they have a really simple roast turkey dinner, and it is sublime. It tastes just like a traditional Christmas dinner that you would have here, and it was wonderful. There was I kept going back for that time and time again. It was just fantastic.
You can't beat the simplistic things, though. At the end of the day,
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we did the cookie stroll as well, and that was fantastic. And what was really good was at the end, we got a little freebie that we weren't expecting. On the cookie stroll passport thing that you get, it says a special treat at the end. So we assumed that would be, the completer cookie. And yes, you did get that. But you also got a lovely little plastic Festival of the Holidays glass. Well, it's not a real glass, but like a little tumbler, and it was filled with chocolate soft serve and peppermint whipped cream with peppermint sprinkles on the top, and you got that for nothing. And it was absolutely delicious. But I would suggest that if anybody else has got that little plastic tumbler, under no circumstances put it in the dishwasher, as we learned to our peril, unfortunately.
Oh no, R.I.P. tumbler.
Yes, you could say that. It wouldn't be able to hold any liquid anymore, put it that way.
Oh, bless. Oh dear. Did you actually go and have any particular meals? And I'm just thinking that I know you love to go and visit Sunshine Seasons for a particular thing. So, thinking more away from the snacks, think about desserts and meals now.
Oh my goodness. I knew you were going to bring this one up. There is a very particular dessert that I like at Sunshine. No, I wouldn't say I like it. I love it. I go every single time. I will have multiple ones of these, and it's at the Sunshine Seasons dessert area on that left-hand side, and it's a key lime tart, and I am obsessed with it. It is just the most delicious thing I have ever had, and I will go and seek it out every single trip. And I went this time. It was a morning. I think it was a morning. I'd gone on my own. Everyone was still in bed. And I'd gone on store, and it was about 11 o'clock. And I thought, I'm going to treat myself to that dessert. And I went, and it was not there. It had gone.
No.
Oh, I was absolutely gutted. And I even asked them, I said, is it just sold out? And oh, no, I'm sorry, ma'am. We don't do that anymore. And I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no.
Anymore never,
no.
Or anymore that trip?
Anymore. It's gone. It does not exist anymore. They are not making it anymore. They are not selling it anymore. It has gone.
No.
Oh, but there is a happy ending to this story. Because I discovered at Old Key West, surprisingly enough, where I stay all the time, in the shop at Old Key West, they have a small selection of desserts, which we don't normally buy, to be perfectly honest. But I spotted something that looked very, very similar to my beloved key lime tart. So I thought, I'm going to try that. And the only difference was, instead of having meringue on the top, it had some like shards of white chocolate. And I would almost go as far as saying it was better.
Ooh.
I know. So I think from now on, I will be able to have my key lime tart fix at my old home, Old Key West.
Now, I do know that in Festival of the Arts, they have a deconstructed key lime tart. And I have seen images, and I've heard other people saying it is pretty, but it is amazing too. So maybe they've just sort of like brought in this key lime tart, and then it'll go back to being there maybe in the future. Let's hope.
Well, let's hope. I mean, I did actually find another one, because we did have one, I suppose you would class it as a table service on this trip, if you wanted me to mention that. Yeah, we weren't planning on doing any table service at all, but on Christmas Eve, I noticed that there was a reservation popped up on Christmas Day for Wine Bar George.
Ooh.
So now I've been there several times before. They do a DVC wine tasting event, and I've done that quite a few times. Quite a few times. Sounds awful, doesn't it? And I've actually done that with George, who is amazing. If you ever get to meet him, he's a lovely, lovely guy. But I'd seen recently we watched the Tim Tracker vlogs quite a lot, and he had done one of his favourite places to go is Wine Bar George, and there's a particular table that you can sit on outside. And I thought, oh, that might be quite nice to do on Christmas Day. So we booked the table, and it was booked for 5 o'clock. And when we got there, I asked if it was possible to sit outside, and they said, oh yeah, that's absolutely fine. So we went out there, and the children decided that they weren't really particularly interested in staying at Wine Bar George. So we gave them a gift card and sent them off into Disney Springs, where apparently at one of the food trucks, the mac and cheese pulled pork something or other is apparently the best mac and cheese in the whole world. So, they had that and loved it. But we spent a good few hours up in Wine Bar George. Since it was Christmas Day, we had a bottle of Prosecco, and we had some little, it looked like arancini, but it was like macaroni cheese balls. They were like deep fried, and they were phenomenal. And we also had their house-made hummus and dip and breads and stuff, which was lovely. But we also had one of their cheese boards as well, which was delicious. And I had their key lime tarts right at the very end. But it wasn't. I mean, it is a table service, but not a traditional sit down for a meal as you would normally say. But it was so beautiful because we could sit up there and we literally watched the sunset and all the Christmas lights come on, and it was perfect way to spend the evening of Christmas Day.
And isn't it great? Your children are now at an age where you can say, "Go on then, off you go," because the Disney bubble is a relatively safe bubble. They know their pathways, they know the way round. Perfect.
Oh yeah, I mean they know that place like the back of their hand. So we gave them some money on a gift card and said go have fun, and they did.
Perfect. Now we've talked about the food, and we all know the main reason people go to Disney is the food. And
Absolutely.
in between you fit in the odd attraction. So let's talk about some of the attractions and experience highlights that you had on the trip. I
think for us, it was, even though we have actually done it in Paris, it was really great to go on Ratatouille. Now, I'm not a fan of 3D at all. I never wear the glasses. It just freaks me out. I can't do it. But the whole experience with having the virtual queue for Ratatouille, which I know has gone now, was quite interesting. And that's where we needed a teenager with very fast phone fingers to get us a little boarding group for that. And so we did do Remy quite a few times. But I think perhaps the best experience that we had was when we went on the new Runaway Railway at Hollywood Studios, which I know it's been open a couple of years now, but obviously for us it was the first time we'd got to go on it, and we've managed to avoid every single vlog, every single video of it, and I'm so pleased we did, because when we went on it was just phenomenal. It's the best ride, and I love the fact that they're able to do it in kind of a 3D way without having to wear glasses. It's so cute. It's just a beautiful ride. I think perhaps the other really, really good experience we had was when we did one of the extra magic hour openings for deluxe guests, and we were the only people on the Haunted Mansion, the only family. We went into the stretching room and we were the only people there, and the cast member sort of like stood behind us and went boo, and did all that sort of thing. But we were the only people on the ride, which was quite spooky actually, but fantastic.
Oh, and our friend Linda Walker will be now salivating at the idea of that because she loves the mansion. Oh, wow. Did you get to go on Rise of the Resistance as well?
Oh, we did, yes. Now, Ben and Anthony had actually been on that previously on our last Christmas trip, and they'd done the whole getting up at silly o'clock in the morning to get to Hollywood Studios and such like. Now, I'm not a Star Wars fan at all, but you have to experience these things, don't you? So what we actually did was we got in line for Rise of the Resistance 5 minutes before the park closed. And we actually did this. We did this several times, and we did it as a family, and I did it a couple of times with Ben as well. The wait time as you walked in ranged anything from 180 minutes to 240 minutes. However, we never waited longer than 30. Wow. Going in because all the Lightning Lane people had left. That they finished at 8:30 because it shut at 9 while we were there. We walked into that queue at 5 to 9 and got pretty much straight on within half an hour. It's definitely the way to do it.
And that strategy can also be deployed in any other park on the big hitters like Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, whether it's Soaring or Test Track. over in Animal Kingdom, at the Flight of Passage attraction.
Absolutely, yeah.
Why wait in your theme park time when you can wait in Disney's time?
Well, this is the thing. I mean, we did it for Slinky Dog as well, if I remember rightly. And we just and people were walking in and said, "Oh, that's a really long wait time." I said, "No, just ignore it. They're just putting that wait time up to discourage people from going on." Honestly, never waited more than 30 minutes at park closing.
And in some of these queues, if they're an outdoor queue, you might also still see any nighttime spectacular because you're in the queue or
Absolutely,
on the attraction.
Yeah. Yep, definitely.
I know one time I was able to get on Slinky Dog just as the fireworks were starting in Hollywood Studios, and that was amazing.
I can imagine, yeah.
So, well, it wasn't at the point where we couldn't see through all the smoke and haze. That wasn't so much fun. But yeah, I've done the same with Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, and it just timed it perfectly, or Splash Mountain, and that's a nice way to end the night.
Yeah.
Wonderful. What were the crowds like? Because it's a Christmas trip. You're Christmas pros because you've been before.
Yeah.
So how did you cope?
I shan't lie, it was busy, but it was exactly what we were expecting. We were expecting it to be busy, and as long as you go in with that mindset, it's fine. But what we tended to do is we would take advantage of the early magic hour. Now, it was only advertised that it was half an hour for resort guests, but it was actually an hour. They changed it over the Christmas period so that it was an hour rather than half an hour for all parks. So we made good use of that. And it wasn't ridiculously busy. And then what we would do is we would sort of leave at about maybe 1 o'clock once we'd done everything we wanted to, come back to the resort, have some lunch, and then go out again sort of maybe 3 or 4 o'clock when you were allowed to park hop and stay for the evening. I mean, there was some times that Ben and I just went out, the two of us. We went to Hollywood Studios, say, to do the Rise of the Resistance thing. And we would leave the resort at maybe 6, 7 o'clock. And by that point, everyone was piling out. So as long as you know how to play it, it really isn't that bad.
Fab stuff. Okay, let's talk about Genie then. Have you any experiences to share in using it?
Yeah. I don't like it. I think, I mean, we are planners, you know, by our very nature. And I think probably most people that would be listening to this probably are planners.
Yeah.
You know, they would book their fast passes those 60 days out. You knew you had 3 rides you would definitely get. You knew what time you would get them. And it was included in the price of your ticket. We now know that's all gone. I will try and, you know, bye-bye sort of thing. But, you know, there you go. So we did do Genie Plus, the paid option, on our very first day. And in retrospect, that was a mistake. We were all very gung-ho about being up on the first day, and we should have probably left it a few days, to be perfectly honest, because we were all absolutely exhausted, and we didn't make the best use out of it. We did use it again further along in the trip, again at Magic Kingdom, which I think is perhaps the best place to use it because there's so many different rides that you can use it on. However, we were finding that you would select a ride, but the time for you to go on it wasn't till maybe 4 or 5 hours later. And yes, you could then book another one after another 2 hours, but you might not be able to get on that one for 3 hours later as well. So it wasn't great. We did the one day that we'd use it at the Magic Kingdom, we did park hop and use it at Hollywood Studios, and that was okay. But we ended up using it for things that you probably wouldn't have had to wait for anyway. So we are looking at paying for it in advance when we go next time. It was the fact that we paid for it that morning and you felt you had to get the best use out of it. Whereas if you prepaid for it, you might not feel quite so bad. I'm not sure. We'll see. We did pay for the individual attraction once, and that was on our very last day. And we paid to go on Flight of Passage. And that was, I would say that was actually worth it, because we knew exactly what time we could go on. We turned up, we rode it, we had a wonderful time. And that was actually fine. But the actual Genie Plus, not a fan.
Okay, and I think those are all fair comments. I think with us both being from the UK as well, what Disney is seeing to be doing is they're enticing us with their 7-day tickets where you actually get 14 days. You've got the ability to buy Genie Plus as an add-on to those tickets. However, strangely enough, they've not yet reintroduced their 3-week tickets for us yet.
No. I mean, we actually have the old style tickets for our summer trip, which you can't add on to. So we're currently trying to see if we can convert those tickets and add on from there. But we did try phoning them to do that the other day, but we were on hold for 4 hours and then the phone ran out of charge. So we had to give up.
Wow. Having had this experience of Disney at Christmas, what have you learned? What would you do differently? And that may be just specific to Christmas or for your next trip in this summer.
Oh, goodness. I think for us going next time, like I said, I think we would try and pre-purchase the Genie Plus because I think if we had it more and we'd prepaid it so it was already done, we wouldn't be quite so worried about wasting it, if that makes sense. But I think the biggest thing that we learned was definitely that getting into the lines of the big hitters 5 minutes before the park closes. Now, in the summer, that might be different because the parks are open a lot later. Whereas when we went at Christmas, Hollywood Studios was shutting at 9. So it was a perfectly good time to be getting on a ride and getting back to the resort for a decent bedtime. But I think that's probably the biggest thing I would take away is how to play the system to get on the big rides without much of a wait.
Yeah, that's all really interesting points on those. Thinking now to this summer, I know you literally say bye-bye to Wells HQ in the UK and ship on out and get the most out of using your DVC. Tell us a little bit about this summer's activities.
Well, we're currently in that window for DVC where things are moving around. We did have our home resorts booked at 11 months. We always make sure that we do that just to make sure we've got something. But currently, we're going for just over 4 weeks, if I remember rightly. It's hard to remember when you've got them all booked. We're flying with Lufthansa via Germany into Tampa this time. We love Tampa Airport. It would be our airport of choice, to be perfectly honest, especially now Magical Express has gone. And we're spending 4 days in Tampa to begin with. Then after that, we are coming to Animal Kingdom Lodge in a club level room, and that's for 4 nights this time. So we are very spoiled. But what we haven't got park tickets for that though. So we'll be completely making use of the resort, and it's such a wonderful resort. You can easily spend a few nights there without park tickets. But what we're also doing is on our checkout day from the club level, we've actually booked a value room at Animal Kingdom Lodge. So we've got somewhere to sleep, but we will still have access to the club level.
Do you know what? You are an honorary Yorkshire woman just for that statement. We are known for cutting currants in half, but lady, that is the best way of getting it from Disney, because we all know Disney prices are going up and up up, and the little nice freebies are being sidelined. So if you can get it from Disney anyway, well done on you.
Absolutely.
I hope you're taking a Tupperware.
Yeah, we're making most use out of it we possibly can.
Awesome.
But then when we finish there, we're going over to Universal because the children were really keen to do that this time. And we're staying at Royal Pacific, but we're staying in their club level as well. Now, I have no interest in Universal whatsoever. Do
you know what? I've just decided you and Jane should holiday together. Because Jane doesn't like the big scary roller coaster type things either, and you'd be great holiday buddies.
I think you're right. But yeah, so the 3 of them, we've actually got annual passes for Universal, which we bought 2 years ago and haven't activated yet. But they were 15 months for the price of 12.
Wow.
So we'll be activating those when we go. So while they're doing ridiculous, great big roller coasters at Universal, I shall be going to outlets and malls and having a wonderful time in the club level lounge.
Perfect.
Then what have we got after that? After that, because we've just started moving things around. So after that, we are going to Bay Lake Tower in a 1-bedroom. So because we've got all these points now, going for a 1-bedroom there for, I think 6 nights. After that, our park tickets actually start. So we've had no park tickets for Disney at this point. So after that, we are going to Old Key West in that 1-bedroom villa for a week. And then, if we can, when our 7-month mark comes round, we'll be going to hopefully Boardwalk in a 1-bedroom villa for the final week. I think that's where we're at the moment.
But it's all dependent on those DVC availabilities.
Absolutely. And the only one that we have to... Oh, no, hang on. I've missed something out. We're also going to Vero Beach for 3 nights as well.
Wow.
I can't remember exactly where that is, but yeah, we're going there for a few nights also.
How are you getting to and from all of these places? Are you hiring a car?
We are, yeah. Now, I know that car hire has been a bit of a sticking point for us Brits recently, with, I actually think probably with everybody, with it being so expensive. But Anthony has actually found a really cracking deal. So we've actually got a car for the entire time, which is perfect.
Brilliant. That's good. Do you have to pay parking then at your resort with you being DVC?
No, if you are a DVC member who is staying on point at that resort, no, you don't have to pay parking.
Fab, because that could make it a very expensive trip with
Exactly, yeah.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Well, it sounds like you had an absolutely fantastic Christmas trip. For those of us who want to live a bit more vicariously with you and join along as your vlogs are released, where can people find them?
Yeah, we're on YouTube at the Wells Family Disney Adventures, which I know sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but that's just how we did it. We also have a Facebook page of the same name. So yeah, feel free to come along and join us. Anthony was working on our 2nd vlog last night, so that should hopefully be going up tonight. We do tend to do one a week, so please feel free to come and join us.
And I must say, from all the Disney Dream Girls podcast family, thank you for your daily essays and picture sharing. I'm not joking. It was literally 3 sides of A4 and it just gave so much of an insight to your holiday. I felt like I was next to you with my little bag of goodies that we'd been and bought as we were wandering around Epcot. It was fantastic. So thank you so much for doing that.
Oh, my pleasure.
Right, I am now going to call this podcast to an end. If you want to catch more from us, don't forget to go on over to our website, disneydreamgirls.com, and I'm sure Vicky won't mind if I embed a little bit of her holiday pictures on there for us to enjoy as well. You can email us info@disneydreamgirls.com, Twitter and Instagram @disdreamgirls. But until next week, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.